Facebook a minute or two to let everybody know that we are here and going. We have another full house. We have Andrea back in the house. It's been a few weeks, Andrea. Woo woo.
Hi, guys.
Glad you were back. Like we said last week, fall is upon us and some excellent books are coming out. I mean, it's just every week is just filled with so many good things. So maybe I should wait to pose this question while more people are on here. And Tom's not here, so I'm not sure I should even talk about it till maybe I'll talk about it next week. But I finished a book that I think he talked about on here, might have been one of his like quick picks or something, was How to Love Your Daughter. I need to talk to somebody who's read that book. So this will be if we do get some comments in the Facebook feed, fair warning, it's going to be completely a spoiler. So if you have any desire to read it, don't listen or mute us, because that was one of those where I was like, and I'm not a dumb reader, but I was like, what am I reading? What's happening here? What's happening? So it's a woman that's completely obsessed with her daughter, but then it just goes off the rails. So anyways,
Fiction?
what's that? Fiction.
Okay.
Fiction and really good. I mean, I love the way it was written. I love everything about it, but it was just like, I was like, wait, did that really happen? I don't know. Anyways, we can talk about it later. So we're going to go with, it's going to go in the order of Gabe, Steve, Andrea, and Julia. Gabe likes the first spot now. He used to try to get the last spot. I think he's embraced the first spot now. Right?
Number one, baby. I'm
number one.
I got to play these head games to myself to give myself value.
You got to set the tone for the show, right?
I mean, sometimes the bar's pretty high, you guys. I don't know.
That's why hey, speaking of bar being high, I'm like, I'm almost done with this one.
Oh, good.
It's good.
You know what? That was a little a book that found its way.
Yep.
You know, people discovered it and read it. Booksellers are an odd bunch, and there's a lot to read. Really? And I'm always surprised when everybody picks up anything.
Right.
Because there's so many of those, early reader copies out there and books out there, and then plus, there's a lot of reading to be done. But it's appreciate anytime anybody picks up one of my books, because there are a lot of books to look at, and this book just found its way. People discovered it, got an Indie Next nomination.
Yeah, I mean, and it really is. The way I like the way she writes. So
a little fantastical, like urban fantastical.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. All right, take it away.
Speaking of urban fantastical, Black AF History goes on sale tomorrow. So this is one I've been waiting to talk about, because it is basically Black history. I mean, we're still it's 2023 and we're still battling overtly battling against teaching Black history. It's no longer like we used to talk around it. When I grew up, we knew there was Black folk in America. We knew there was slavery, but everything was hunky-dory after slavery. Everything was good. Opportunities prevailed. Everything was nice. And so our generation, of politicians, we understood that was not in anybody's consciousness, but come on, man. Civil rights was 50 years ago, and we should know better. And but now we're overtly trying to cancel Black history in any kind of way in some places in America. So this book speaks to that. We got great quotes on the back of this book from Ibram X. Kendi, Joy Reid, Pharrell, Amber Ruffin. All the Black luminaries are going to be reading this book, and you're going to be. I got like multiple copies in my house of this book. It's such a fun book. That's the thing. He's got a great voice. You guys, I mean, you should know him. He's been all over the place. He's a political commentator on MSNBC. He's on BET. He's on CNN. He's been all over the place. He writes for a lot of different journals, and the cover is very funny. We just see, human trafficker, drug smugglers as our founding fathers, as we see the truth in their history. But he just points out cultural overlooked stories, overlooked issues, and sometimes uses very common and well-known historical circumstances and facts, and sometimes it's a small piece of American history that we haven't been made at all aware of, or we didn't even know existed, but because of his research he finds these little pockets of various moments in African American history that he writes about, and he's got such a great voice. When you're in the bookstore, just pick it up, read the Earth, Wind, and Fire section. That's a section that most, at least my generation, will understand. He got an Uncle Junior. Uncle Junior's obviously done time because you got an Uncle Junior. You know who Uncle Junior is. He calls them the elements, Earth, Wind, and Fire. So he gives a voice to every one of these, every one of his family members that he refers to, every person that he speaks about. But he's got his own voice is really strong and really powerful. He's got a really sharp razor wit, and it is an absolutely fun book to read. I mean, this is the kind of book that you can give to a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, give it to a 50-year-old, a 25-year-old. It is enlightening. It is, I think, culturally important, and it's an absolute blast to read. Michael Harriot's voice is really enjoyable to sit, cuddle up with over the weekend or some evening or before bed, because it's like the Exkendi book without all that heaviness. You're made aware, but it's all. And he pokes fun at the culture. He doesn't hold back on the stereotypes, and he plays off of that. He knows who he's writing for. He's not writing for that. Oh my God, you're shocking me. Oh my God, you said something. He's writing for somebody who gets it, and hopefully people will. It's so accessible. I think it should get a real wide readership. But just absolute blaster. I mean, as far as fun reads go, that's a really fun history book.
I love it. And learning some good stuff along the way. Yeah.
It couldn't be publishing at a better time, but of course it will jump right to the top of the short list for being burned by flamethrower.
Andrew, I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay, I'm glad everybody saw that too. The flamethrowers in Missouri or some godforsaken place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Missouri's beautiful, but the politics are pretty ugly right now.
You're right. I should have said that. I should be careful what I'm saying. Don't say that because it's like I probably just offended half the people that are watching.
Hey, I got a buddy.
My paternal grandfather was from Missouri.
And I have some good bookseller friends who live in Missouri. So I shouldn't have said that, but I was just so pissed when I saw that.
It's unbelievable.
Mark Twain's from Missouri, kind of odd.
Yeah.
But my friend from Missouri, John McAndrew, used to call it, they don't call it misery for nothing.
Yeah.
John McAndrew.
Anywho. All right, Steve. What do you got for us?
All right. As a second, I'm going to try to share my screen, but which I never do, but I'll try it in a moment here. But the book I'm going to talk about is 50 Years of Ms. Magazine.
Yep.
Let me do this. And this, that's not working. Okay. I'll just talk about it.
All right.
It's a celebration, of course, of Ms. Magazine. And I was just thinking now, when Ms. Magazine came out, I mean, did they basically coin the term? The coin Ms. was coined at that time. And it's really incredible, the story. And this book, Gloria Steinem does the intro. It's edited, it's put together by their executive editor, Catherine Spillar. And it's just a really great selection of articles and photos of magazine covers and inserts. It's just a really wonderful celebration of Ms. Magazine. And I think it's a great gift. Will make a great gift. It's $50. I think that's a good price. It's like 200 photos,
Ooh,
much of that color and illustrations, and it's like 10 by 7, so it's a beautiful book. And yeah, it comes out tomorrow, and I mean, really, I think this should be a really big deal, you know, for
I agree.
people this season. As a
Is it a gift size? I mean, is it like a coffee table size book, Steve?
yeah,
Yeah,
10
okay.
by, yeah, but yeah,
Yeah. So
something like
nice,
that.
like nice, good photos that are in. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, everything, yeah, that you can really see clearly. You know, fun articles on the body hair in 1972, and you know, all
No,
sorts of great
I was
stuff.
seeing some stuff. I was just quickly as I was going through because I've got to go into that. I guess we're supposed to call it X now. I'm still calling it Twitter just because I want to just be a pain in the ass and call it Twitter.
Yes,
But just I was seeing Gloria Steinem come in. I was like, what's going on? And then I noticed that it was the release of that book. And so I was like, oh, got it. So very cool.
yeah, yeah, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
And she's just we had the pleasure of hosting her once, which was like,
Yeah.
there's some people that I have like on my checklist, and she was definitely one of them. And it's just like, okay, I can retire pretty soon because my checklist is getting smaller and smaller. She
Yeah.
was one though. I was just like, I was
I'll
so
bet.
glad we got to host her.
You know, I was a little kid. I was like in middle school when Ms. came out. And I remember because East LA, not very aware, not in a very like cultural, they were culturally in tune because of the war and stuff and the
Right.
minorities going out to Vietnam, but that was the extent of it. But feminism hadn't quite got into the hood yet. But I remember, I mean, in my brain, when Ms. Magazine came out, I knew about it and it was a big deal. And that's weird for a 12-year-old boy, 11, 12-year-old kid. I must have been 70, 71, 71, 72 or something.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
The frontline feminists changed everything.
Right.
Everything today is because of what they did. Really.
And being reversed. Anyways, on that note, Andrea, take it away.
Now I'm going to talk about a book from Vietnamese refugees. So we're really covering all the bases.
I
here,
love it.
you know, regarding America the Beautiful. So I want to talk about this fabulous book, A Man of Two Faces, by Pulitzer Prize winning public intellectual and amazing writer Viet Thanh Nguyen.
And a nice guy too. Just
And
an amazing guy.
A very nice man. And just like, I mean, he's just one of those human beings that, you know, you feel fortunate to cross paths with. And that's why my boss calls publishing one of the last standing glamour fields, because we do get to rub elbows with some amazing writers, right?
For sure.
So this is a memoir. It's called, the subtitle is A Memoir, a History, a Memorial. And it's about his father and his mother, but about his father in the main. But he runs through the whole history of his family having to walk to a seaport, and then finally able to relocate in America. His family was split up. He was split up from his parents and his brother because of the way people were taking refugees. Like, it's okay, they have room for one kid. I mean, this is just harrowing stuff, right? You're a 9-year-old. But they finally were allowed to come together again as a family, and they settled in San Jose, and they had a shop there, a little grocery store, a little corner shop. His parents were shot at one point. They both survived, but you know, this is just you know, a day in the life of like refugees trying to like make it in America in a rough neighborhood. His father was, and this is a illustration of his dad, who
Mm.
looks a lot, he looks a lot like Viet for sure. You can see
Mhm.
the family resemblance. And this also echoes the two previous books, the cover. So it's going to look great on yourselves. Face them out, everybody. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful memoir. And it runs the gamut from those early days when they're trying to get out of Vietnam to Viet now as a public intellectual who tours all over the world often to speak, and now dealing, as he's a parent now, but he's also dealing with aging parents, and so it runs the gamut, and it is the most beautiful memoir I've read in a long time, I have to say. And I think this is an important book, and should do well. It was just named to the long list of the National Book Award last week.
Oh.
It's not officially out yet. Okay, it can go on the shelves, but it has a publication date of October 3rd, and it's named to the list. So that's the kind of punch that this book packs. Let me see if I can find a good quote. Susan Straight. None of the usual adjectives apply to Viet Thanh Nguyen's memoir. It is beyond words, like brilliant and heartbreaking, because the prose rejects that kind of easy summary. This book belongs with James Baldwin, Claude Brown, Maxine Hong Kingston, and other writers whose memoirs take apart, quote unquote, the American dream with laser precision. Nguyen's tensile anger and evanescent memory is measure of the fundamental sadness of watching his family and himself in their dreams set against the violence and history of this country. So Susan Straight wrote that, and that's a really amazing, I think, endorsement. It kind of just really places this book well. And there are signed copies, first edition copies, at Warwick's right now. Call and get yourself one.
Yep. Because
Have
you're
it-
right. I think it's gonna be one of those books that it's gonna have long legs, and he's just amazing. So grab up the first editions if you can, because
Yeah.
I think he will be one of the people that we will be talking about for a very long time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just going to continue selling through the holiday.
Yep.
period. So
For sure. All right. Thanks, Andrea. All right, Julia, what you got for us today?
Hello. First off, I just want to say that if you ever need the best Vietnamese food, you should go to San Jose, because it is really the best. So my first book is Leslie fucking Jones by Leslie Jones.
By Leslie fucking Jones.
So
I love
this is
her.
I love her.
so much.
This is Leslie Jones's memoir. She is, of course, on Saturday Night Live, and she was in the reboot of the Blockbusters movie, the all-female reboot of the Blockbusters movie. She is one of the funniest people. She also, I happen to know, has season tickets to the LA Sparks, the WNBA team, which I know because I also have season tickets to the LA Sparks. And she's there every game and is the loudest on like courtside seats, cheering everyone on.
I love it.
But this memoir, this is a really great memoir. I dove into it a while ago thinking like, oh, it's a celebrity memoir. I've read a million of them. And this was really, it's heartfelt, it's touching. There's a great foreword by Chris Rock, who's the person who sort of asked Lorne Michaels to look at her and get her on Saturday Night Live. And, she was much older. She was in her mid 40s when she started auditioning for things like Saturday Night Live. She had been in the stand-up routine for a long time and was sort of tired and, wanted to either make it big or do something else. And so it's really it's a wonderful memoir about perseverance and about, being like a loud Black woman from South Central Los Angeles, basically. And, how she made it to where she has. It's really touching. It's obviously very funny, and a really fun read. And one that even if you're like, oh, Leslie Jones, like I like her, but it's definitely one to read. It really does shine a light on like what it takes to do what she's done. And yeah, just really heartfelt and lovely. I really like this book.
And she completely entertained me during the pandemic. If you followed her on Twitter,
Dude, first of all, I don't know why NBC has not contracted her to do sports commentary, because she does the best sports commentary on Twitter.
absolutely.
It is phenomenal.
It's almost as good as Snoop doing nature videos.
Yeah, it's a Snoop watching horses do dressage and say that they're crip walking is a video that I watch at least once a week. And it's great. But Leslie Jones, I mean, she's like, she reminds you when she's watching sports of like how incredible it is what everyone that's you're watching is doing is like, she's like, how is this happening in front of me? She's so great and so enthusiastic. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, she, if you don't follow her on Twitter, start following her on Twitter, but read the
Yeah.
book too. So absolutely.
Definitely.
And Kim, go ahead, sorry.
I said definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
All right. And Kim DeVoe snuck in. Welcome to the house, Kim DeVoe.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
What you got for us?
My next, okay. My first book is a debut.
Ooh, love
It's Mother-Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. It's a Reese Witherspoon pick, and it's already been optioned by Capital Entertainment. And have you guys already done this one?
I think Gabe, isn't that your book? Yeah, we
Do
did.
it
I think we
again.
did it last week, but that's
Let's
okay.
do it again.
Do
I'm
it
doing
again.
it again. I'm
Because
so
here's the
sorry.
deal, Darcy, one of our, so she's a watcher and I don't know if she's on live with us, but she'll watch it later. She said she emails me occasionally when it's a book she really likes. She emailed me about this book. She's
Nice.
like, this is like
Okay.
awesome.
Okay, good. Yeah, like all my books I think have already been talked about. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Way behind
always
the
good.
curve. But anyway, it's already been optioned. It's a Reese Witherspoon book, and it's described as the Gilmore Girls meet Only Murders in the Building, and Nancy Drew meets Columbo. And it features Lena Rubicon, a very successful LA real estate developer who's convalescing from cancer treatment and living with her daughter Beth and teenage granddaughter Jack. And she's been out of touch with her daughter for most of Jack's life. Lena is dying of boredom. She's in a sleepy coastal town. And when Jack discovers a dead body while kayaking, when Jack becomes a chief suspect in the murder investigation, Lena springs into action, setting up a murder board and gathering evidence with Jack and Beth's help. And their amateur sleuthing uncovers way more than Lena bargained for. And it also bonds the three women together in ways she didn't think was possible. And this is a very fun whodunit with great dysfunctional family dynamics, humor, plenty of plot twists. And Lena totally steals the show. She's formidable and fierce. And fans of Finley Donovan series and A is for Aunties and The Maid will love this book.
Awesome. Beth Johnson's on here. She read it to Gabe, and she says, which I kind of agree with you a little bit on this one, Beth, that she's not usually in sync with the Reese picks. Sometimes I'm not either, but they sell a lot of books. But she loved how the author developed the book with her mom, which is another fun kind of
The
thing
backstory, yeah.
about it.
The backstory on that is just it's so touching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Thanks, Kim. Okay, Gabe, book number 2.
I'm gonna have Kim do all my books from now on.
Oh, no.
All right, I'll be quick with this one. Lou Berney.
I love him. I love Lou Berney.
I was about to say, I bet nobody has ever read Lou Berney, and doggone it, I should have kept my mouth shut.
Should keep your mouth shut. I love him. He is, if you haven't, you need to read him. And November
Pick up
Road.
anyone.
But yeah, he's so good.
He is so good. He is somebody that we started doing as a paperback original many years. I think this is his 5th book with us. He doesn't do a book a year. He does a book whenever he's done with it. But he writes he is as good a thriller writer as anybody out there. I like his very first book, I couldn't put down. Second book, he just hooks you. He's got really clever plots. He's a bit of a he just hooks you right away. There's very few people who I look forward to, and I just know like the next thing is going to be really good, like a Martin Walker or a Louise Penny, where I know what I'm getting.
Yep.
And with Lou Berney, it's a different book, not doesn't repeat characters. In this case, it is a young 27-year-old kid who Hardy Reid, who people call Hardly because he's pretty useless. He's a minimum wage, 27 years old, making minimum wage at a carnival, at a amusement park kind of a place. He's like a scare actor. And that's what he does, doesn't have a lot of ambition. And one day, walking through the park, he sees these two kids sitting on a bench, and he goes up to them to see if they're okay. And he sees that they have marks of abuse, and he reports it to social services. And you think that would be enough for a kid who has no cares in the world, but he can't stop thinking about these kids. So he follows up with social services to make sure that they do something. And as it turns out, the father of these kids is not only a high-priced lawyer, but a mobster, a drug dealer, a cartel guy as well. He's a very dangerous person. The mother says she wants to run away with the kids and escape, but he doesn't feel he can trust her. So Hardly becomes the lifeline for these kids. And in typical Lou Berney fashion, he gets you tearing through the pages, and 2.5 evenings later, you'll get to the end because you're going to be ripping through it.
Yeah, he's so good. I mean, and such a nice guy. Another one that's just like, we actually, who lifted him up for us though was Winslow. Don actually came and did the interview with him, which
Oh, nice.
Don's becoming a little bit of a unicorn. He doesn't like show up places very often.
No, it's different. Yeah, it's different now.
So he's Don's, but that's how much Lou means to Don and how good Lou is. So if you haven't read him before, either pick this one up, November Row, pick something up. He's really good.
Don Winslow, Gabe, and Julie recommend, for whatever that's worth.
I mean, come on, the trifecta. He's talking, I'm telling you. Okay, Steve, what do you got?
All right. Well, the next two books I'm going to talk about, I've talked about before, but they were longlisted for the National Book Award just the other day, which is really exciting because I love both of these books. And the first one came out in June.
Okay, yep.
It's called Loot by Tanya James. And it's like this great, it's like watching a 6-part masterpiece theater production. It starts in India in the 17th century. It's in the kingdom of the Sultan. I can't remember his name, but the British they've been fighting wars with the British, who are trying to, of course, colonialize them. And there's a young wood carver who's been making gifts for the Sultan to give to his children. And at one point, he is commissioned to help make an automaton of a tiger devouring a British soldier. And he's working with a clockmaker who's French, I think. Anyway, so they create this. The British end up taking over and actually stealing the automaton. The boy, who now is becoming a man, he travels to France and then later to England to try to recover this object, this incredible object. And there's a lovely romance that takes place. It's just a delightful story. And I'm so happy it's a National Book Award long list. And that's Tanya James, Loot.
I think, and Amanda, chime in on Facebook I think if I'm remembering right, that you really like this one too. But it's, yeah, I saw that got the National Book Award. It's like, good on you. Awesome. Love those. I almost don't worry about the winners as much. I love just looking at the lists.
The list, yeah.
Because I love seeing what's on the list. And I have to say, there was a lot of stuff that I hadn't even heard about that made the list. So I was just like, some other books I got to get to, I guess.
I was surprised that this was on it. And of course, delighted that
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
And everybody's on Facebook, Gabe talking about Lou Burney, how they hadn't heard about him, but he's showing up on their TV. They're going to be on his TBR list. So I love that, you guys.
Love it. Thank you,
Love
guys.
it. Love it. I can't let us know. Hopefully we'll live up to the hype that we've all put on here. So it's like, oh, we might be going.
Pressure's
No, we won't
on.
be. No, we won't be. Okay, Andrea, what do you got? Round 2.
I'm doing an all Grove Atlantic session.
Which
I don't
I
do that-
love Grove Atlantic, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're one of our flagship publishers, but I try to, you know,
Spread the love.
represent everybody, but this is just, it's just you know, embarrassment of riches. So I really love this book. This is what's it called? Son of the Old West. And this is just an amazing profile of one of the larger than life Western characters. And it's basically an epic narrative of the Old West through the vivid and outsized life of a cowboy, detective, and writer, Charlie Siringo. I mean, he's an amazing character. And it's just, the thing I like about it is that this is a very compelling period of our history. It's interesting, like how his life mirrors the move from the old frontier to the fringes of modernity, and then smack dab into the Hollywood dream factory. So he starts out in Texas as a ranch hand, moves all over the Southwest, works for the Pinkertons for a while until he realizes that their politics and their methods aren't for him. And then ended up writing this book, Cowboy Detective, that the Pinkertons didn't like, and they basically went to court to have it removed from publication, a circulation, because it basically told the truth about how dastardly they were and what they would do to, you know, break up labor movements and that sort of thing. And and he also wrote an early book, A Texas Cowboy, which is considered by people like Will Rogers as the classic, the classic title in the Old West chronicling. So the guy is just, you know, like just so interesting because he was there when all this was happening, and then he ended up in Hollywood playing a cowboy for the early silent films, etc. And so just what an amazing life. It's full of excellent photographs of the era and maps and illustrations, and it's just one of my favorite books on the list, this fall list, and I think it's going to have a really nice life during the holidays and beyond, and it really should be on everybody's radar who's interested in Western life, and then also like early Hollywood too. So
I love it. And I'm always amazed. It's like, okay, you know, I don't even like traveling around, and we have all the modern luxuries of traveling around. And it's like these people that were like traveling around the Southwest during that time period. It's like, can you imagine how miserable?
I mean, just trying to get the cows across the Rio Grande, give me a freaking break.
The Rio Grande, just out the gate.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just
right?
like,
And
yeah.
and then, like, you know, I mean, then it's like biblical weather, you know.
no, all of it. It's just like, I mean,
And-
and where are you staying, and what are the conveniences and all that stuff? It's like, oh, I wouldn't been leaving my.
I mean, those
I barely
people,
leave my
like,
house
you know,
now.
yeah, we are so soft. Those people, like, really were pretty tough.
Absolutely.
I think that about where you live, Andrea, where if you hit the back of that mountain range after coming across the desert, and I would have just cried and like died right there, like the
I
end.
know. Well,
Like
Held
then
up in a
this,
ball, exactly. Just
there's a lot of skeletal remains up
yeah, I
yonder.
mean, yeah.
But yeah, no, can you imagine? Because like
because
this,
especially after coming across like the Grand Canyon, having to go navigate the Grand Canyon to get the, it's like,
then
are you
Death
kidding
Valley-
me?
you
But
get
like,
Death Valley, and then there's this then there's 14,000-foot peaks.
that's the thing. The first time I ever went up the 395, I was like, these people just hit this mountain range, and then what? Like, I would have just cried. The end.
The end.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and
Yeah.
and this guy, like, really, he does talk about that. I mean, it's just like the stories he talks about, like his young ranching years, just like it just boggles your mind, just the day-to-day stuff, and you're just like, how did they do it?
Yeah,
But I mean,
It's
that's what they do, right? And it's like, okay, we're here.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
All right, Julia.
Okay, I have kind of a fun history of, it's like a clothing history in a way. It's called Pockets, an intimate history of how we keep things close. And it is the history of pockets in fashion and in the clothing that we wear. And basically that pockets are about 500 years old, and sort of how it's a history of the pocket appearing in clothing and why and how, and all of that stuff. And then also it talks about sort of like some of the more political ramifications of pockets. So like the fact that women's clothes don't have pockets, so they can't keep things in their pockets, so they can't run away as easily, is like one of the, is like one of the threads, so to speak, in this book. And then also, like, when pockets first sort of appeared there and first became popularized, there was like this real outcry about like, now people are going to be able to hide weapons on themselves and stuff like that. And so like, sort of this political history of pockets, as well as the fashion history of pockets, the author Hannah Carlson teaches the history of clothing at RISD. And so it's a fascinating history. It's got great photos and pictures throughout of like different kinds of clothing and different kinds of pockets, and when they appear and when they don't appear. It is like, at first when I saw this book, I was like, a history of pockets. Wow, we're really digging up some themes here. And then it's great. It is a great book. It is so interesting. Like, it's a history. I love a weird history of like, what? Like,
Right.
why is there a history about this? But I love it's one of those like surprising ones where you're like, oh, of course there must be a history about this when you finish reading it. So,
But it's
really
so
good.
true. I love it because I mean, honestly, there's nothing more infuriating than when I buy clothes and it's like you're going like this all the time. It's like, where are the pockets?
And any woman who owns a dress with pockets, that's the first thing that she tells you.
Correct.
When you compliment the dress, she goes, oh my God, it has pockets.
And all the men are thinking flight risk.
Right. Exactly. It's like, cut those things out. And nothing's more annoying when you have something that has the fake pockets. Like it
Uh-huh.
looks like they're supposed to be there and you start cutting, like thinking that they're really pockets and they're not. And it's just like, oh my God.
Or like pockets that don't fit anything. So
Right.
they're not like,
Like they're
so
shallow, they're like
They're
this
too
big.
shallow.
Yeah, they're like this big.
Pockets are important in my world. I
Oh,
remember basketball shorts didn't used to have pockets. And one day there was pockets in basketball shorts. Like, oh no, you could wear them for like leisure and stuff
It-
now.
yeah.
It
It
changed
was a
the
revolution.
fashion world.
No, I
It was
mean,
a
you don't
revolution.
think about it, but it's like pockets
Now-
are very.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
men in basketball shorts has been a 20-year phenomenon, but because
And
you got
there's-
pockets, you can put your keys in there now. You can throw a wallet, and some even I buy these shorts now. They got 2 back pockets, and it's like, oh, not just one, 2. I
just
got a
one.
pocket for my phone and my
And your wallet. That can
instead
be
of the big
pickpocketed.
bulky in the front pocket. Pockets are important. You had me at pockets.
Yeah, we have pockets. It's so true.
and also there's like a whole like section too on like Walt Whitman's author photograph for Leaves of Grass. He had his hand in his pocket and it was like a scandal.
Oh my God, I love
which
it.
I absolutely enjoy.
Oh my
So,
God, I love it.
like,
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
and like my daughter-in-law, I think she like made sure that her wedding dress had pockets. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
it's like,
You need a chapstick.
you need a chapstick, but just
Or
like,
maybe that's
just
me.
sort of with your hands. It's like, it's just someplace to like, I don't know. There's just something about
Yeah.
pockets. So
Yeah.
anyways, we're getting
No.
lots of fun comments about, back to your book. Well, to your book, Steve, Kim's on here and absolutely loved Loot. Loved it. And then, I can't remember if it was Beth who was, we were talking about. Oh, so, Lori was talking about, your book, Andrea, about, is it a la lonesome dove, kind of a book. And so we're about your frontiersman there,
Awesome.
and lots of comments about the pockets. We got lots of pocket discussion going on.
I'm telling you, I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
Who knew that pockets would spark this kind of who knew? All right, Kim.
Okay, my next book is, as I said, has already also been done. It's The Fraud by Zadie Smith. And as you know, it's a historical novel based on true events set in Victorian England. And it features a wonderful protagonist, Elizabeth Touche, a widow who is now sort of keeping house for her cousin by marriage, William Ainsworth, a once famous novelist who has not had a successful book in a long time. And he is also a real 19th century novelist who briefly outsold Dickens. And William recently had a child and married his much younger maid. And the whole household, along with the rest of England, becomes somewhat obsessed with a trial, the Tichborne trial, in which a butcher from Australia claims to be the lost son of a wealthy, titled family. He has very little evidence of this, but his claim becomes a populist cause. And I mean, he's clearly a con man. And the chief witness, though, is in the butcher's favor is Andrew Bogle, an elderly former servant and employee of the Tichborne family, who was also a slave in Jamaica when he was young. And we also get his story back in Jamaica. And in addition to the sort of the trial, which is so reminiscent of today and in our politics today, you get a very powerful backstory of slavery in Jamaica. And this is a Dickensian story that explores London's history, colonialization, and slavery. And it's long, but the chapters are very short, and the dialogue is really lively, and the characters are great. And it's really an exciting read, not a slog at all, and it's so thought-provoking, but also fun. So I highly recommend this.
I love it. Yep. Tom taught you it's a Zadie Smith book. It's like,
Yeah.
takes a while for her to come up with books, but when she does, it's an event. So
It's a zinger. She packs it all in, but it's got a lot of humor. It's a great read.
awesome. Okay, lightning round. Start us off, Gabe.
All right, I'm going to discuss an unusual book by Cy Montgomery, who's done a number of kids' books. Cy's a journalist of sorts. She is always into, she wrote, was a national book finalist for a book called Soul of the Octopus. And she was sort of at the forefront of that, octopus being very sentient beings, very intelligent beings, which they've demonstrated over and over again. So now Cy's turning her attention to turtles. She and a well-known naturalist, Matt Patterson, got together and they went to this Turtle Rescue League, which is located in Massachusetts. Someplace that starts with an S, Massachusetts. And it is a place where there are just hundreds of turtles that have been clipped by cars, motorboats, whatever, all injured, unwanted. Victims of pollution, poisoned by, last administration allowed all these poisons to be tossed into waterways, affected the turtle population greatly. And so it's a history, it's a natural history of the turtle, its place in our culture and what is actually happening. Very brass tacks book about turtles and physically where they are in today's world and how they got here. But there's also great backstory and history of turtles. They're revered in many cultures. They're revered. A lot of native cultures have the origins of the world are on a turtle's back, or there's a turtle sort of carrying the world around. That's one of the an often used, I think, creation story. And it is an all-encompassing look at the turtle. But Cy's got a really, like I said, National Book Award winner for the Soul of the Octopus. So Cy can write. She's a journalist by trade and very obviously involved in caring about the natural world and what's going on in the natural world and the various species. The book also deals with diversity and manages species diversity as well. But also she manages to blend in, social diversity on the human front as well, and how diversity is important in nature, and we're part of nature. So
Yeah.
a pretty brilliant book. It's bigger, brass tacks book about turtles, but it's a bigger book than that, obviously.
It's not a gifty size book though. It's a
No,
regular.
it's very
It's a regular
bestseller.
size. Yeah, more history of it. Okay, sounds good. Sounds like a really good. It would be an interesting book gift to give somebody because just.
I think a lot of kids have had turtles, and either from those small little turtles, box turtles,
Yeah.
desert tortoises.
Yeah.
There's
Interesting. I like those sea turtles. Okay, Steve, what you got?
All right, well, I talked about this book last week, but since then it's been longlisted for the National Book Award, and it's Jane Ann Phillips' Night
thought it-
Watch. And a very odd coincidence, one of Warwick's employees, Beth Penny, her daughter is marrying Jane Ann Phillips' son.
I know it's crazy.
talk
It
about
was so
crazy-
awesome.
The crazy world. And this is just an incredibly good novel, historical. I don't know if you could see it here,
Yep,
but
look at it.
yeah, this is in like the 1870s, a state-of-the-art mental institution. And in this little cart here is a 12-year-old girl and her mother. Her mother is catatonic pretty much at the beginning of the novel, and dropping them off, or really dumping them at this institution, is this nasty piece of work. Rebel soldier who's just abused the mother over a long period of time, and he just dumps them at this place. The girl pretends to be, she doesn't say she's her daughter. She puts on like airs that she's the maid of this woman who's of a higher class. Otherwise, she doesn't think they'll get accepted into the crazy house. And meanwhile, the father, who went off to fight in the Civil War, had a really horrible traumatic brain injury, so he can do everything he did before, but he can't remember a single thing. And they all end up at this institution, and it's just really well plotted and great characters. It really moves along, and I'm really happy it's on the long list. So that's Jane Ann Phillips' Night Watch. It came out just last week.
Yeah. So there again, it's just like, it's so crazy that some of these things are just popping. It's the lot, which there's a lot of books that get published during the year to be picked. And so
Yeah,
it's interesting.
so true.
I want to get on one of those. I don't think how do you get on one of those committees though?
Yeah, you should be. You should be. for
I love
sure.
it. All right, Andrea.
I want to round things out with Donna Leone. This
Ooh.
is her memoir, which is excellent, Wandering Through Life. And of course, Donna Leone is the best-selling author of the Venice Mysteries that that Warwick's does well with every time they come out. She's basically published a book, a mystery once a year for over 30 years. She's going on 31 now. And so you know, this great mystery writer of the Guido Brunetti mysteries decided that she's going to tell her own adventurous life story as she's moving into her 80s. And she's had like quite a life. She was born in New Jersey, believe it or not, and then taught English all over the place. China, Saudi Arabia. She was in Iran from 76 to 79, like, and had to be evacuated during the revolution, which is crazy. And then from there just ended up in Venice, and was befriended by some really lovely people that helped her work on her Italian, and she just felt like that was her home. And then she's, you know, been writing these stories this whole time, but it goes into her love of opera and some of the crazy things she's done to try to get into an opera house that was sold out to see, I think it was a Mozart opera. She like basically was in another building, and there was some construction, and there was like a board running across the windows from one building to the other. Could have like fallen to her death, and we would have been deprived of all those Guido mysteries. And then she ends up getting caught by the guards and thrown out anyway after she made that trek across. I mean, it's like something from a movie, right? But she is like, she's got such a sparkling, dry wit. And I just think that you can't, if you like her mysteries, you're gonna want to pick this up. It's kind of a smaller little format. It feels good in your hands, and it's very
Yep.
gifty.
Love it.
And I also I just read, or I'm sorry, I didn't read. I just listened to on the BBC has like there's somebody who does a cultural interview program. So he interviews various cultural figures, and he did an excellent interview just recently, like I think in April. It was an April or May interview of Leon, and it was so nice to hear her voice.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
like, and you know, because then you, and like her mannerisms, you kind of understand who she is more through her voice. And it was it really blew me away. And I was I just think it's like that helped me understand, and then everything got rounded out in this memoir. But I just think that she's a lady of a lot of depth, and people are going to want to pick this up. And I'm sorry that this is the lightning round and I've gone on.
Well, Gabe's got to leave, so we just got to say, peace out to
I gotta
Gabe.
check out.
He's
Sorry,
got
y'all.
to check out. Hey, Gabe,
All
thanks
right,
for being here. All right. And Amanda put onto the Facebook page the link to that BBC thing. So that's cool.
Awesome.
Okay, Julia.
Okay, I'll try to keep this lightning as well, but my last one is a giftier book. It's called Forbidden Hollywood, When Sin Ruled the Movies. And I've been really into this lately. This is about pre-code Hollywood. So before the Hays Code sort of really put the clamp down on what could be shown in movies, there were a lot of movies coming out between 1930 and 1934 that were risque, they were adult, there was some queer themes, there was all sorts of things happening in these movies. And there are these like wonderful movies. Criterion actually right now, if you have a subscription to the Criterion channel, they have a pre-code Paramount collection that I've been sort of slowly making my way through. I watched Shanghai Express the other night. That's with Marlene Dietrich, which I definitely recommend. But also I'm not sure if I've ever said this on this before, but my first job in Los Angeles was giving the Paramount Pictures studio tour.
Oh my God, I
Um,
love that.
Yes, so I know a lot about this. And what's cool, what I really love about this book is that there's a whole section on Mae West, who many people don't know, but saved Paramount in the 1930s during the Depression. She had a, I'll say this fast, she had a show in New York called Sex that she was getting arrested like once a week on like
Oh,
lewdness
that's so
charges.
bad.
Yeah, they would come in and arrest her, and she was getting sick of having to bail herself out. And so Paramount offered her a deal, and she came out to Hollywood and did She Done Him Wrong was her first movie with Cary Grant. It was his first movie. And it blew up, it saved the studio. She lived in the Ravenswood, which is, if you know, Hollywood is a couple of blocks away from Paramount Pictures, and a gay couple bought that apartment after she died, and it's been kept the exact same way. So still stands today in the exact same way. Anyway, it's a fun book, Forbidden Hollywood. If you like old Hollywood movies and old Hollywood stories, it's a really fun one.
Oh yeah, and that again, that's a perfect gift.
Oh,
gift.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
just looked up Shanghai Express and I see that the fabulous Anna May Wong also stars
Yep.
this movie. So I've got to check that out because she's
Yeah.
like amazing too.
It's a little bit gay. It's a little bit gay too, Andrea. So it's
Another-
got something for all of us.
Oh, well, okay.
You know, that's why I watched it. So
Another great one is Babyface with Barbara
Oh.
Stanwyck. Oh, that is good.
Oh,
I don't know if that's in the collection or not, but
yes. Barbara Stanwyck, like, especially all the screwball comedies that she was doing at that one period I mean, she's so amazing in them.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
she is.
she can do anything.
I love it. So on Facebook, our own Mary Allen is joining us today. Hi, Mary. You're gonna have to come on like Kim does and come talk about books. We love that you're here watching us. So she can't wait to read Night Watch too. So this is a fun, like Beth was saying, it's a fun little part of the internet that we got going on here. So lots of good stuff. So with that, Kim, take us home.
Okay. My third one, my quick pick, is Richard Osman's latest The Last Devil to Die, the fourth Thursday Murder Club mystery. And as everyone knows, I'm just the hugest fan. And Osman has done it again, and our four delightful friends are back investigating the murder of an old friend. He was an antiques dealer who was protecting a dangerous and valuable package. And their investigation involves the often shady world of the antiques business, with art forgers, online fraudsters, and international drug dealers galore. And it's a twisty, fast-paced, intricate mystery. But the part of the book that's so special is the characters, the main characters. They're heartbreaking, heartwarming backstories. And Osman deals with a devastating topic, dementia, with just so well, so humanely and sort of beautifully, that this is my favorite part of the book. And each of these books gets better and better, and this is the best one yet. So
Awesome.
highly recommend.
Love Richard. And I think he did a tour last week. I think it was up in LA, I think, for an event. So I don't know if anybody got to see that, but we have Linda is new to Tea Time too. We're getting new viewers, which I just love that people are finding us again. Lots of fun new stuff. So we always are here to give you some good book recommendations. And like I said earlier at the top of this, it's like, it's the fall and there are just so many things that are coming out and so many good books. So tomorrow, no, not tomorrow. Well, tomorrow, Julian and I are going to go see Bernie Taupin. We talked about that last week, Scattershot. So we'll be reporting back on that.
So jealous.
Yep. So we're going to go report back. We'll report back next week on how Bernie was. We're going to be with Cameron Crowe.
Read some reviews of the book. It sounds interesting.
It sounds really good. I kind of like, because he doesn't pull any punches, which I kind of like. I can't wait to read it.
He doesn't. Yeah.
Yep. So that'll be fun. And then on Wednesday, we've got Mona Awad coming to the store for Rouge. So
That'll be
can't wait for
great.
that too. All right, everybody. just a minute over an hour. We almost got under an hour, but thank y'all for being here. And thank you to the reps who were here and Kim for coming in. So happy reading, and we will see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.